Abandoned at 3. The return that shook her world. In the heart of New York City, where skyscrapers gleam under the sun and the streets pulse with the rhythm of life, lived a little girl named Sophie. She was just 3 years old, with wide, curious eyes and a heart brimming with dreams. But Sophie's world was far from bright. Her father, a businessman always chasing deals across the globe, was rarely home. This left Sophie in the care of her stepmother, Margaret, whose cold demeanor cast a shadow over the little girl's life. From the moment Sophie stepped into Margaret's pristine apartment, she felt like an intruder. Margaret's sharp green eyes followed her every move, judging her every step. "You're lucky I even let you stay here," Margaret would hiss, her voice sharp as a blade. Sophie tried so hard to be good. She picked up her toys, ate quietly, and tiptoed around the house to avoid trouble. But nothing pleased Margaret. A forgotten crayon, a drop of milk on the table, or a laugh too loud would unleash her fury. Her words were like storms, crashing over Sophie and leaving her trembling. One spring afternoon, Sophie returned from a rare trip to the park with her nanny. Clutching a handful of daisies she'd picked from a grassy patch, her small hands held the flowers tightly, hoping they might soften Margaret's icy heart. "Margaret, look, I got these for you," Sophie said, her voice bright with hope. But Margaret's face twisted in disgust. "What are these? Filthy weeds?" she snapped, snatching the daisies and tossing them into the trash. "I don't have time for your nonsense." Sophie's chest tightened, her eyes stinging with unshed tears. The rejection hurt more than any fall or bruise. Margaret's cruelty went beyond harsh words. She knew Sophie was terrified of wolves. Bedtime stories of their glowing eyes and sharp teeth haunted the little girl's dreams. Margaret wielded that fear like a weapon. "If you keep being a nuisance," she'd say with a chilling smile, "I'll drag you to the woods, and the wolves will take care of you." Those words sank into Sophie's heart like claws. At night, she'd lie awake, staring at the city lights through her window, imagining dark forests where wolves lurked. She longed for her dad's warm hugs, but he was always so far away. One evening, after Sophie accidentally spilled apple juice on the dining table, Margaret's rage erupted. "You ruin everything," she screamed, her face red with anger. "You think you can make a mess of my life? I'll take you to the woods, and the wolves will be thrilled to have you." Sophie's heart pounded. "Please, no," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'll be good, I swear." But Margaret's laugh was cold and cruel. "You're nothing but a burden," she said. "I have my own life to live." That night, Sophie couldn't sleep. The city buzzed outside, but it felt distant, like a world she didn't belong to. She curled up under her blanket, her mind racing. Would Margaret really take her to the woods? Could someone be so heartless? Deep inside, a tiny spark of defiance flickered. Sophie didn't know what it was yet, but it told her she couldn't let Margaret control her forever. The next morning, Sophie woke to Margaret's sharp voice. "Sophie, get up, we're going somewhere." Sophie's stomach twisted as she pulled on her clothes. Where were they going? Why was Margaret so rushed? She walked downstairs, her small sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Margaret stood by the door, her coat on, clutching car keys. "Move it," she barked. "We're leaving now." The car ride was silent, the only sound the hum of the engine. Sophie sat in the backseat, watching the city fade away. The crowded streets turned into quiet roads, then open fields, and finally, a dense forest. Sophie's chest tightened with every mile. She wanted to ask questions, but fear sealed her lips. Margaret's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, cold and unyielding. The car turned onto a dirt path, deep into the woods. Tall trees closed in, their branches blocking the sunlight. Sophie's breath hitched. This wasn't a normal trip. This was something terrible. Margaret stopped the car and turned to Sophie. "Get out," she ordered, her voice like ice. "Please," Sophie whispered, tears welling up. "Don't leave me here. I'll be good." But Margaret's face was stone. "Get out now," she repeated. Sophie's hands shook as she opened the door and stepped out. The air was heavy with the scent of pine, and the forest was eerily quiet. Margaret didn't look back. She started the car and drove away, her taillights vanishing into the trees. Sophie stood alone, the towering trees looming like giants. Her heart raced, and panic clawed at her. She was 3 years old, with no food, no water, and no one to help. The stories of wolves echoed in her mind. but she pushed them away. She couldn't just stand there. With a shaky breath, she started walking, her tiny shoes crunching on leaves and twigs. Every sound made her jump, a rustling bush, a distant bird. The forest felt alive, watching her. Hours passed, and Sophie's legs ached, her stomach growled, and her throat was dry. The sun began to set, casting long shadows and painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Sophie's fear grew, but so did her determination. She wouldn't let Margaret win. Just as the light faded, Sophie heard a sound, a dog barking in the distance. Her heart leapt. A dog meant people. She ran toward the noise, her tired legs moving faster than she thought possible. In a clearing, she saw a figure moving through the trees. She froze, unsure if it was safe. But as the figure approached, she saw an old man with kind eyes and a weathered face. "Are you lost, little one?" he asked, his voice warm and gentle. Sophie nodded, too exhausted to speak. "I need help," she whispered. The man, named Henry, smiled softly and took her hand. He led her to a small cabin tucked deep in the woods. Inside, a fire crackled in the hearth, and the warmth wrapped around Sophie like a blanket. Henry gave her a soft chair, a warm blanket, and a bowl of vegetable soup. "I'm Henry," he said. "I live out here, helping folks who get lost. You're safe now." Sophie poured out her story, Margaret's cruelty, the threats, and the abandonment. Henry listened, his face softening with sympathy. "You're a brave girl," he said. "You made it through something no child should face. You're stronger than you know." His words were like a light in the dark, chasing away some of Sophie's fear. For the first time in forever, she felt safe. Henry took Sophie to a nearby village, where kind people welcomed her with open arms. They gave her a cozy room, warm clothes, and plenty of love. As the years passed, Sophie grew up surrounded by laughter and care. She went to school, played with friends, and learned to trust again. The village became her home, a place where she could be herself. But the pain of Margaret's actions never fully faded. The memory of being left in the woods lingered, a quiet ache in her heart. Sophie often thought about her father. She wondered if he knew what Margaret had done. She wrote him letters, but they went unanswered. Maybe he was too busy. Or maybe Margaret had lied to him. The uncertainty hurt, but Sophie focused on her new life. She helped in the village garden, read books by the fire, and dreamed of a future where she could help others. When Sophie turned 18, she knew she couldn't keep hiding from her past. The anger and hurt still simmered inside, and she needed to face it. She decided to return to New York, to the apartment where Margaret still lived. The thought made her stomach churn, but it also filled her with strength. She wasn't the scared little girl anymore. She was ready to stand up for herself. With the support of her village friends, Sophie packed a small bag and boarded a bus to the city. The skyscrapers and bustling streets felt overwhelming after the quiet village. Her heart pounded as she walked through the familiar neighborhood. Memories flooded back, Margaret's sharp voice, the fear, the loneliness, but Sophie pushed them aside. She was here for a reason. She reached the apartment building and took a deep breath. Her hands were steady as she climbed the stairs and knocked on the door. When Margaret opened it, her face went pale. "Sophie?" she gasped, her voice trembling. Sophie stood tall, her eyes locked on Margaret's. "I'm here because you need to know what you did," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You left me in the woods. You tried to destroy me. But I survived. I'm stronger now, and I'm not afraid of you." Margaret's eyes darted, her usual confidence crumbling. She stammered, trying to make excuses. "You don't understand," she said. "It wasn't like that." But Sophie didn't let her twist the truth. "You don't get to hurt me anymore," she said. "I'm here to take back my life." For the first time, Margaret looked small, like the bully she was. Sophie felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She didn't need an apology. She needed to speak her truth. Sophie turned and walked away, her heart lighter. The city sparkled around her, alive with possibility. She didn't know if Margaret would face legal consequences. But that wasn't the point. She had faced her fear, stood up to her past, and taken back her power. The little girl left in the woods was finally free. Back in the village, Sophie felt at peace. Her journey wasn't just about confronting Margaret, it was about healing herself. She wanted to help others who felt lost or afraid, just like Henry had helped her. She started volunteering at a community center, sharing her story to inspire others. She taught children to garden, listened to their worries, and showed them they were never alone. Her life was full of purpose, love, and the strength she'd found within. Sophie's story is about more than survival. It's about finding courage in the darkest moments, standing up to those who hurt you, and building a future brighter than the past. She proved that even when someone tries to break you, you can rise stronger, shining like a star in the night sky.